or this is equivalent in capacity to our solar shed. Here's the Superbase V4600. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it's fancy. It's huge.
So. Super excited to work with Zendure. We've had the Superbase Pro 2000 for the last year or two. About a year. We use that unit heavily because it's a very powerful unit. This is almost triple the power and capacity. So pretty awesome. Their stuff is really nice looking and really designed well. One of their things they boast is they invest in good engineers and good designers, and everything is just really nice looking and built well, and they're very innovative. The Superbase Pro has different MPPT charge controllers, so you can charge it really hot with high solar input. And the Superbase V is no different. It has 3,000 watts of solar input and about 3,000 watts of AC input as well. You can charge this unit with over 5,000 watts if you dual charge at the same time. So you could charge it within like 2 to 3 hours. Pretty exciting. So
that way, when we get 6 weeks with no sun,
yep,
we are not going to have to run the generator a lot.
And if we do, and if we do have to run the generator at all, we can hook it straight into the Superbase V4600 and charge it in 2 hours. Quick charging is an awesome option, so you don't have to run a generator all day long. Just run it for a couple hours if you need it, and the solar doesn't take care of you. Bluetooth connecting. You can connect the Zendure Superbase V4600 with Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. So I went to the Google Play Store, downloaded the Zendure app. I actually had it on there from back when we had the Superbase Pro and we were using it with that. But we're going to use the app a lot with this unit because it can monitor and create an energy saving plan for you in the cabin and kind of show when you use all your energy and keep track of everything for you. So that's really cool. And also, I could turn the light on and off with the app. I can change the colors, party mode. You know, if Jenny and I want to do karaoke one night or have a little rave here in the cabin. They have a night light mode, which is cool. You could leave that on and it could light up the cabin for us. Our intent is to hook this up as a backup system slash possibly use it as a pass-through system so we can monitor our cabin and all our power consumption all the time with their app. We have our regular AC breaker box. We're going to install the unit underneath there. I have the cabin hooked up, so it comes out of the AC box, goes under the cabin over to the front corner where there's a 30 amp plug that comes from the solar shed. I'm going to relocate that 30 amp plug inside over here on the wall so we can plug the cabin into that, which would run into our solar shed. Or we can run it through the Zendure at all times. We can use this as like a pass-through system where we run the solar shed as the grid, and if the grid goes low, we can use the power from the Superbase V4600. They have a transfer switch that they use with their units, so it can automatically do that. They did not send that to us or want us to show that to you, but that is an option if you have a home system that you are going to use this for a backup home system for if the grid goes down, emergency type situation. Or with the app and everything, you can monitor your energy consumption and they can actually use the stored up energy from the Superbase V, and they can use the energy stored during peak hours if you're on the grid. So when that charging rate goes up, like when they start charging you more for power consumption when you're on the grid, you can use no power from the grid and use the power from here, saving you money in the long run. That's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to kind of move some things around here, show you where we put the unit and leave it in here. This is lithium iron phosphate batteries, Life P04 batteries. So they're going to stay inside the cabin where it's a lot more climate controlled environment. So in here in the cabin, they'll be safe and sound. And we'll just have to make sure that when we're charging the unit, the batteries are above 0 degrees Celsius or freezing Fahrenheit. You can discharge the batteries a little bit lower than that. But anyway, let's get it over here in the corner and we'll talk more about that once we get it set up. Alright guys, I detached the plug and all the wires underneath the cabin. Right now we're just going to run this plug into here, run it like that until I can get the wiring done tomorrow. Alright guys, no power in the cabin right now because we're unplugged from our other 30 amp plug outside. No juice, no refrigerator. This will be cool because we'll get to monitor the cabin and see a little bit more how much we draw. The inverter in the solar shed always said under 100 watts, maybe 120 if we had like all the lights on and the fridge and all the computers are running at the same time. This will be cool. I can monitor this on the app. This will be more accurate than just say the little readout on that inverter. So let's plug her in. So 0 input, 100%, 0 output. Here's our 240 volt outlet used for higher draw appliances. And here's our 30 amp, 120 volt plug. And we will turn the AC on. Everything's turning on, back on in the cabin. The refrigerator just surged and it went up to 1,000 watts. And now we're at 106 watts for everything in the cabin. That's with the refrigerator running. So this will be cool. This will be really fun to monitor tonight. Let's turn some stuff on in the cabin. Let's see if the fridge is still running. Freezer's running. So that's our 88 watts. It's already cold, so it's been running, and you know it's not from, let's say this was like if you had an emergency storm or power outage. Your refrigerator's already cold. We're not cooling it from, you know, room temperature to freezing temps. So here we go, we got lights. So about 30 watts for all these. I don't know if the outdoor lights will turn on in the dark because they're motion sensitive. Yeah, that turned on. Wow, that's drawing 60 watts. I wonder if that's a real bulb. That front porch light, see, there you go. Now I can draw, now I can figure out that needs to be replaced. 10 watts. Let's actually connect the Zendure app real quick. Here's the Superbase V4600. So I click on that, showing the AC on, 147 watts. So let's turn on the fan and see what it does. Jumps up from 150 to 170. And that light. Let's turn on the fan and the light. I was at 190 watts. Now I'm at 265. Pretty much everything but Jen's computer is plugged in. And we got chargers charging all our like batteries for the GoPros and phone chargers and stuff like that. Right, there's a little charging hub right by the back door. 260 watts. Yep, fridge is still running. Now let's plug Jen's computer in. So guys, we could plug this directly into the Zendure, but the Zendure is feeding the whole cabin. Because this 30 amp plug goes under the cabin, up through the wall to our AC box right here above it, right above it. So that's what we're going to install, the 30 amp plug right here on the wall and a 110 volt plug through that. And that's going to feed from the solar shed to this area. And then we're going to feed it through the Zendure. So the Zendure will just feed through to our breaker box, AC breaker box. And then if the grid ever goes down or our solar's dead, we can either turn it off or this will just get recharged through our solar shed. Everything in the whole cabin is on. So we just got a little fan kicked on for a second. Yep, Jen's computer is charging, so it's 311 watts. It'll be interesting to see how loud this unit is. If it does run a lot, the fan a lot at such low wattage. 300 watts is nothing really. I don't think I'm going to go fiddle with anything else tonight. I'm going to save doing the rest of this install for tomorrow. So we're going to run off the Zendure tonight. That fan keeps kicking on and off, just kind of purging for some reason, or surging. We got everything in the whole cabin going. So we'll keep you updated tonight, see how long the cabin can run on this. Hopefully I can get it hooked up to the solar shed tomorrow. 300 watts. I'm going to turn some stuff off. Like I said, I got everything running in the whole cabin. Lights, we don't need all this stuff running. 250 watts. I'll leave one light on. 250 watts. We don't need that fan running or that light on. Thanks for hanging out with us and letting us tell you about this. You know, one of my goals with this YouTube channel was to, as I said before, spread some joy, but also, you know, get some companies help support us and help us on this solar journey and this off-grid journey. So, or adventure.
Do you want to lift to make it to the next video?
111 watts, 120 watts. It's at 86%. It's been running for 5 hours. So that's pretty good, I think. We're running everything on this unit. We're heading to bed. We'll give you a little update in the morning. All right, good morning, guys. Good afternoon, almost. The Zendure Superbase V4600 has been taking care of us since yesterday at 5:30 p.m. It is currently 18 hours later, and let's show you what it's done. It's powered the whole cabin. Shower, fans, lights out here. It did sit pretty idle for 8 hours at night. It was pretty noisy overnight. I think it needed some firmware updates. So we just did some firmware updates and it's been much quieter, but we just did it. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on it for today. And it's gonna run the cabin while I do the relocation of the plug. So we can run the cabin on our solar shed or we can run it through the Zendure. It's at 51%. We started at 100%, 50% in 18 hours. All right, so you guys hear that low hum? That's the fan. I can live with that. The sound of it before was 5 times that, yes?
That was pretty...
It was pretty loud.
Pretty loud.
Like we could listen, you could handle the computer fan noise. But listening to the fan before, it was like I said, 5 times that. So my objective and my goal is to get the cabin running through the solar shed and this before that battery goes dead. I'm gonna give you the 10-second thing here. Solar panels, 2 arrays, feed our solar shed. We're gonna treat this as our grid when we're using the Zendure. So we have our charge controller, battery bank, inverter in here that runs 110 volts. Buried a line in conduit. That power line coming from the solar shed over here comes underground, comes to this conduit, and up to this 30 amp plug. This is a 30 amp RV plug. What we're gonna do is relocate this into the cabin. I'm gonna put a fusible pullout here and run a new line in conduit over to where I just drilled those 2 holes. So because this video is not teaching anybody about electrical, I'm not gonna film a ton of this, but I'm gonna try to show you a little bit of it. Most likely we'll see most of you back in the cabin where I'm gonna put this 30 amp plug. Right now I'm just putting in, like I said, this fusible pullout so I have protection on this line in case anything were to happen to it. Obviously make sure all your power is turned off at the source. So fusible box here, fuse box instead. Pretty simple swap out. All right, everybody, it's 4 o'clock. I just finally wrapped up getting the 30 amp outlet here. This could be done different ways, guys. This is just the way I choose to do it. So it's versatile. Now I can plug the cabin line into the grid power / my solar shed, or I can plug it into the Zendure, or worst case, I can run an extension like out the window to a generator into 30 amp plugs, all 30 amp plugs for like an RV. The wire for the main panel comes down through the wall, goes under the cabin, and then comes up through this conduit. And I left a little bit extra slack here so I could plug it into the Zendure. Right now, it's plugged into this 30 amp plug. I also ran a 110 volt, 15 amp style outlet here off of the grid, or, you know, our solar shed, but I'm calling it the grid for the sake of how this is going to operate if we decide to use this all the time. So since the Superbase V is like a home backup system, or you can run your whole off-grid cabin, or it could just be for emergency use or for you in your RV if you're traveling. You can charge the Superbase V directly with solar power. I think 3,000 watts of it, which is crazy awesome. And you can charge it in just 2 to 3 hours that way. Here's the regular AC plug. If you're going to use this as a home backup system, you should get Zendure's transfer switch. That way it could transfer the power either using it from the grid or like our off-grid solar shed or the Zendure. So we're gonna unplug our 30 amp plug from the cabin. We still have power at the 110 volt outlet. We're gonna plug the 30 amp plug into the outlet on the Zendure like we've been doing the last couple days. So we're plugged into the 30 amp plug here. When I use the app, you can program this plug or the AC plugs to operate this 30 amp plug like a 15 amp plug and then use this 240 volt plug. I don't think here in the States we use this plug for anything. This is probably for overseas. But in the app, you could switch the programming and switch the settings to disregard this 240 volt plug and use the 30 amp plug as a true like RV style plug where it has 30 amps of power going through it. So that's what I did on the app. But we could turn the AC on. There she goes. Turning the cabin back on. Again, I don't know if we're going to use this all the time and do the pass-through charging from the solar grid or just use our solar shed to run the cabin. We'll probably do it that way and use this for backup instead of passing through the unit all the time. So it's 4 o'clock. We've been using it for 23 hours pretty heavily, and we're still at 39%. So my estimation would be that we could use this unit for a long, weekend, 2 or 3 days, and power our cabin. If you have an off-grid cabin where you have lower consumption and you just need lights, maybe a coffee maker once in a while, a few kitchen appliances, the Zendure would take pretty good care of you. What I'm going to do right now to test everything that I did is plug it in with the AC and see if it'll pass through, operate, and charge at the same time. So here's our AC input where we can charge it. Alright guys, back here by the AC plug to charge it, the AC input. There's also a toggle switch that you could change manually without the app to go from fast charge to slow charge. I'm going to leave this on slow charge now. I believe that only draws 700-800 watts, but I want to plug this in and see how it works. There we go. Something clicked on. Should be charging here. Because we have it plugged into an AC plug, which if you're at home, it'd be on grid. Here, we're using our solar. It's in UPS mode. What the power is doing is actually passing through the unit, not just charging. That way, it can charge optimally and just send power straight to our cabin and not put extra strain on the batteries of this unit. So pretty cool.
What is it putting on the solar outside to charge?
So right now I have the Zendure on slow charge, so 700 watts. So it's going to take 5.5 hours to charge this back from 40% to 100%. We're looking at about 2,500 watt hours at least to suck out of our battery bank from the cabin, from our original solar system. So we don't really want to do that right now on a cloudy day. So what I'll probably do is just run the cabin off of the original solar shed, and then we'll charge this and plug it back in on a sunny day. So that way this can be full and our solar shed can be full. Another option, obviously, is we could run a generator, charge this unit. You can charge it all kinds of different ways, guys. Ultimately, we could hook solar panels directly on the roof of the cabin, run it directly to the Zendure if we wanted to do it that way. Another option, like my plug here, I could convert this to solar input, PV, DC current if I wanted, and run it directly to this and just totally eliminate the solar shed altogether if we decide to stop using that system and go to a more newer technology like this. So the Life PO4 batteries have 6,000 charge cycles to 60% capacity. So in theory, you could use this item for 10 to 15 years, no problem, 20 years daily. All right, guys, success. I'm gonna clean this up, push it back together, and we'll show you a little bit more using it over the next week or so. All right. All right, guys, we've had the Zendure Superbase V4600 for over a week. One of my favorite things is its versatility. It has the option to charge it with up to 3,000 watts of solar, or you can charge it with a regular AC 110 volt plug. The Superbase V4600 has every port you could need. It has AC plugs, car socket, DC plugs galore, has an Anderson plug, has an XT90 solar plug on the back, so you can put up to 3,000 watts of solar into it. It also has the TT30 30 amp plug on the front. That's what we've used it on the cabin with. You could draw up to 3,600 watts through that plug. It also has USB-A's, USB-C's with 100 watt output for quick charging of your devices. You can connect to the Superbase V with a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connection and monitor the input and output of your unit. And set up an energy saving plan so you can monitor how much energy you're using and when you want to charge it and when you want to draw from when and where. The Superbase V can be dual recharged with solar and AC up to 6,600 watts. That means you can recharge it in an hour. So if 4,600 watt hours of Life PO4 batteries is not enough, you can pair 2 units together and have up to 8 additional satellite batteries. That gives you over 46,000 watt hours of storage capacity. And you can use that storage capacity at your off-grid cabin as home backup power, or use that power on the road while traveling in your RV. So when I first started learning about solar, guys, I went with lead acid batteries in the solar shed because I was worried about the use of lithium batteries in such a cold climate. With a unit like this, we could leave it indoors, charge it down to 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit, but we can also discharge the unit down to -4 Fahrenheit or -20 Celsius. That alleviates a lot of the concerns that I first had with lithium iron phosphate. If you guys are interested or need a unit like this, please check out the description box below. The first pinned comment, both of those will have the links to get you the best deal on this unit. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you. Thank you, Zendure, for sponsoring this video. We'll see you guys in the next one.